we'll go right into questions. David Lake from InsideTheU. David, if you had a question for Coach Diaz.
Yeah, Coach, wanted to ask you about the offensive line, just how they've done adjusting to the new offense, how they're doing with gelling. Is the new offense helping them be more consistent in your opinion? And specifically also wanted to ask you about Usman Traore. Just he's kind of a new name to us. What's he doing that you're liking?
Yeah, so broadly about the entire group, I do think they're coming along. I don't think that there's any doubt that schematically what we do helps them, but you still have a job to do, and I think part of it is just natural maturity, player development. We obviously had to play with a lot of young guys last year, so we do bring back some experience. I think the guys are better because of that. Usman in particular, we were really excited when he got here. Kind of got caught up in a weird eligibility snafu, or I think he would have featured in some role for us a year ago. But just a steady presence at guard, does his job without a lot of fuss. Tough, so he's done a nice job sort of establishing a role for himself on this year's team.
Great. Just a reminder, everyone, to please use the hand raise function if you do have a question. And next, we're going to go to Matt Shodell at CaneSport. Matt, if you had a question for Coach Diaz.
Hey, Manny. So I wanted to ask you, fall drills are pretty well on their way here, with the game sort of almost around the corner. Can you talk about maybe a couple of things that you're most encouraged about that you've seen in practice on the field this fall?
I think I'm just encouraged of the overall attitude of our team. We even out there today, we finished practice with some sprints just to make sure that everybody's holding everybody else accountable. I think they feel that. I think they feel that difference. I think we just, as I've mentioned, I think we're just a little bit more connected team than we were a year ago. And we've been trying as a staff to try to expose the places where the connections don't exist, to shine light on it. And I think we've done a good job. The guys have done a good job of battling through those things, so still a lot of work to do. We're still, a week away, but they do seem to be willing.
Coach, we have David Ferrones of the Sun Sentinel. David, if you had a question.
Hi, Coach. I want to ask about a couple of guys. First, Robert Burns. We were talking to Coach Hickson last week, and he said he's close to coming back, but we didn't really know what the deal was with him. And also Patrick Joyner. We haven't really heard his name much in camp. When linebacker talk has come up, what's the status on him?
Yeah, Robert, for the first time today, was able to participate in some things, which is really good for us. He's a very valuable guy on our team, very well-respected guy on our team, one of our best special teams performers a year ago. So it's good to see him, and we'll continue to increase his load day in and day out as we get closer to kickoff. Patrick Joyner, after really early in camp, I guess after Greg left, we moved him to defensive end. We felt like we had a lot of depth at inside linebacker. I think that's always been Patrick's preferred home. He's got a great knack, just some sort of pass rush instincts there. He led Dade County in sacks as a high school player. So, that's where Pat's been.
Awesome. Coach, we're going to go to Andrea Adelson at ESPN. Andrea, if you had a question for Coach Diaz.
Yeah, Manny, when you say you guys are a more connected team, can you just give me a little bit more detail on that? How do you feel like you guys are more connected, and why?
Well, I think number one, it has to do with the people. I think certain people and certain groups of people fit together better than some other types, more like-minded people, and I think that's part of it. I think anytime, when you are, the word gets kicked around all the time, but when you're establishing a culture, sometimes it's not for everybody. So I think the more chance that you have for the program to attract the type of people that it wants to attract, that happens. And then what happens is that those that maybe aren't really all for that, they get a little bit marginalized and sort of put to the side, not put in really important positions. And then just the way that we work, like even just as silly as in this offense and the way that we're practicing now, the fatigue is going to find you, because there's really nowhere to hide, and especially the way we've been practicing these last 2 weeks out there. It has been as hot as I can remember on our practice field. So I think there's no choice to find out who's really for their teammates and who's maybe a little bit more for themselves. So I think all those things go in. As you know, there's no one defining thing, you know, and what coach wouldn't say that this time of year. I get all that, but I think it's something that's still, all that being said, everyone in the program senses.
Coach, we've got a few more. We're going to go to Susan Miller-Degnan at the Herald. Susan?
Hey, Manny. I asked Brett Lashley this yesterday. What do you think it'll be like for you on opening night? You know, what are your expectations for your team that night? How do you think you'll be feeling emotionally? Obviously, this is a different kind of year, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you brought it out to the year, I think it'll probably be very similar to the very first practice we had, the very first scrimmage we had, the very first day coming back in the office after a long time. I think there'll be a lot of emotion. I think just the feeling of just gratitude that we get a chance to get back out there and play, because that's not been promised. But I mean, that's got to quickly go, because I think once we get ready to line up for kickoff, it's all about ball, and we've got a lot of respect for the team that we're playing a week from Thursday. And, I think all those emotions will be short-lived once the foot hits the football.
And Manny, if I may, with the follow, the quarterback situation, have you decided on a backup yet?
We have, so we're not going until we get past our situational scrimmage on Friday nights. We're not really deciding on anything depth chart wise. I mean, there's a couple, in terms of the 2 deep and the 3 deep and all those type of guys. So we'll know all that through the weekend.
Thank you.
Coach, we have Max Olson from The Athletic. Max, if you had a question for Coach Diaz.
Hey, Coach. As we get closer to kicking off here, curious what your feeling is about just what the standard should be, the policy should be for postponing games, and just maybe what's your sense of, how many players do you need available to play a game?
Well, that's a fantastic question, and it is something that has been discussed in our league. And I don't think that there's a broad exact number, because a lot of it has to do with what position, and if there could be a number. You could have 100 guys, but if none of the 100 play offensive line, for example, then it's very difficult to play a game. So we have discussed some of those measures of what they would be as a league. I know from our league, all I can speak for is that we are committed to play. Unless it just becomes to the point where you can't play. And I think we're all aware of that and what that is. And that's why we've been telling our players, this could be a year where, a defensive player has to play offense, vice versa. A wideout's got to play DB, someone have to play this position, that position, and you kind of have fun doing it. So I think we're all ready for that. And in the meantime, just continue to do what we're doing off the field to, keep our testing going the way that it's been going and limit the contact tracing.
Thanks. Coach, this is the last one for you. We have Chris Perkins from Sports Illustrated. Chris, if you had a question for Coach Diaz.
Hey, Manny, when you guys play UAB, they're going to have played a game. You are not going to have played a game. You're going to have film to look at from them. They're not going to have film to look at from you. Is that an advantage for you? And if so, how do you use kind of that mystery to your advantage?
Well, I don't know that there's as much mystery as everybody thinks that there are. Everybody's watching last year's film. All of us coaches, everybody has a track record. And again, what they may do to attack Central Arkansas in one way or the other may not be exactly what they would do to attack us. I also think there's a great advantage in having played a game and getting into just all the dynamics, tackling, just all the things that happen on a first game. You've heard the expression used before that very often football teams make their biggest improvement from week 1 to week 2 during the season. So they'll have the advantage to have that where we won't. But like I said, I think once we get into playing the game, it's going to come down to their guys doing what they do and our guys doing what we do, and a battle of execution like it always does.
Coach Diaz, thanks for spending a few minutes with us today, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon.
Okay, you guys have a great day.